Hello, I'm here because the state of the nation is not good. Some of you might have seen that political violence is occurring and threats are being put out. I think it's time that we as a country come together and we take a look at what we've been doing as a people. I think it's about time to do that, and there's no other choice. Essentially, we have lost our moral clarity. And something we need to get back. We need to have moral clarity again. The way that we have debates, the way that we interact with each other from left to right, it's messed up. We have fundamentally lost every value that we've held dear. And we are lost. I think when it comes to what is right and wrong, politics has always strayed from actual morality. Machiavellian politics ruled supreme for most of human history. Whether you look at the Romans or the Greeks or the empires of China or Japan, or over here in North America and South America, wherever you look, there's always been a shake-up, a difference from morality in politics. And then you look at World War II, where there was such a staunch level of evil on one side. And although you look at some of the actions on the American side, and you can see that there were some moral shakiness to the actions, but it was so fundamentally good in comparison to all sides in human conflict, the history of human conflict. It was so good. Everything was so right and justified and righteous. And then afterwards, let's look at that. Now we went from the moral clarity of World War II, we went to Korea and Vietnam, and we lacked that moral clarity. And there were uprisings. The 60s was a fundamentally unstable time in American history. Alas, the 60s became the 70s became the 80s, and we still had that moral clarity against the Soviets. That held us together. And then the wall falls, the Soviet bloc falls, and we get to live in our prosperity of the 90s with the tech boom, innovation everywhere. Things were going so good that no one could just see that it could possibly go wrong. And from that point, we have 9/11. We don't get to enjoy the peace dividend that we were promised. We go to war with Iraq and Afghanistan. A pointless war. A war where people, normal people like you and me, if I take off this mask and this trash bag, we go to die. For what? What purpose? Back at home, we lose all of our rights in the Patriot Act. We get surveilled by our own government against our Constitution. And that happens under Bush and Obama and Trump and Biden and Trump. It happens in all of these administrations. And we never get any of our rights back. We never get any of our constitutional rights or protections back. So I say to you, when you look at the political violence that happened over the last week, is it really left versus right? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think it's because we don't have moral clarity. In a system that rewards bold, audacious actions, people are going to take bold and audacious actions. That doesn't mean those actions are right. In fact, maybe the opposite. These actions are wrong. Not maybe. In fact, they are wrong. But they're understandable. Think about all the media attention that's been given to this situation. It's a sad situation for indeed. Someone who just wanted to speak their mind, shot in front of millions. Billions have seen the video. I've seen the video. It's a nasty video. Blood and gore, all for a political cause. We don't have to live like that. We don't. We really don't. We don't have to live like that. We can live in a society where we have fundamental right and wrong, where we have a window of debate that's more reasonable. What does that mean? I think that's for us to decide. But I think we must decide it now. Because if one more political figure gets murdered, we don't live in a society where we can come back from that. I think this was the only one we could really afford. This has to be our wake-up call, our canary in the coal mine. That's what needs to happen. Otherwise, this cycle will continue on and on. Left wing versus right wing versus left wing versus right wing. People getting murdered in the streets. The thing that shook us out of the 1960s, what shook us out of that period, I think it was the fact that we realized that we've come to the brink, that societies can only be stretched so much. And I think we were able to recenter on something that was truly good. I think that's what we need to do right now. As a country, we need to decide what our values are going to be for the 2000s, the 2020s, the 2030s. What are we going to value? What do we want to achieve? In 1969, we landed on the moon. And that ended a certain amount of the period of unrest because we were able to look back at the blue orb that we exist on and say that that means something. What is going to be our Earth rising moment? I don't know. We'll have to find something. Will it be a massive infrastructure project or an end to certain conflicts that maybe we can end? I don't know. We'll see. But we have to start aiming for something. Aiming for something moral and right and just. Because if we don't aim for that now, we'll continue to be adrift in an ocean of misinformation and deceit and lies and vitriol and anger and murder and death and blood. And I don't think anyone wants to live in that society. But a lot of people, a lot of powerful people are too scared to do anything else about it. They're too scared to take the actions, to disarm and be empathetic. So you have the president making his declarations, declaring war on the left. And you have, well, might I say, like a very few people on the left who are going to try to commit some kind of war. Now, a lot of people on the right who are angry. But it needs to stop. It needs to stop on both sides. The anger needs to turn into something more powerful. Motivation. Turn the anger into motivation. And that motivation has to do a lot of things. We have to do a lot of things to normalize and calm our society. Will we do it? I don't know. But I hope that you join me on this journey. And we stop it. Stop the hate. Stop the hatred. Stop the vitriol. Stop the violence together. So that's what I'm asking you to do. So like, comment, subscribe, and make some more videos. Talk about more common issues that we have. And propose some solutions along the way. I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments. And let's make a community here where we don't have to agree on everything, but we start talking about solutions. And whether you're on the left or the right, you talk about the solutions, and we narrow the field of what is acceptable in today's society. Not from the standpoint of inhibiting free speech, but from the standpoint of just having norms again, from having values again. That's what we need. So if you agree, subscribe and reach out. Make your own videos. Make your own comments. Let's build a community where we do that in a civil way. We bring that back. Thanks.